Yes, guys, welcome back for another stream. This is a Wildcard special, and I'm joined by two very special guests. We had such a good time a couple of weeks ago chatting FPL that we thought we'd do another Wednesday night chat. So hello to everyone in the chat. Shout out to FPL Chai and also the Thunder from Down Under. He may be a former world snooker champion, but he's also one of us, an FPL enthusiast. Mr. Neil Robertson, welcome to the show first and foremost. How are you, mate?
Yes, thank you very much. Had a really big day practice, so I was straight on to the FPL app and having a look at the wildcard possibilities. So hopefully you guys will talk me out of it.
I'm trying to talk you into it.
Oh, yeah, we might do. Chai, is Neil's thinking about wildcarding. It's crossed my mind this week 100% to the point where I was very happy to put together a draft. That's not something I do every week. What's your take on wildcard and how's your kind of start gone?
I'm quite happy with my start. I suppose the general consensus will be try hold it as long as possible. I know a lot of people are trying to wait until maybe the Wildcard 6 window when the Arsenal fixtures turn. But if your team is stuck now and you think there's an opportunity to grab some early points, I don't have an issue with it at all.
Yeah, okay, nice. Hello to everyone in the chat as well. Thank you for joining. Do get your comments in. We'll bring some questions up. And thank you for all the love for both Chai and Neil. Neil, I struggled to introduce you there because I have watched you over the years so much on TV be introduced with such build-up. Like snooker players arguably get the biggest build-up of any kind of sportsman. So I was trying to rival that with the Thunder from Down Under, but it didn't quite hit the note, did I?
That's right. You got to get the walk-on song for next time, and then have that playing in the background.
Imagine. So after a day of practice, is it quite common for you to sort of unwind with a bit of FPL? Because it is a hobby, but at the same time, for many of us, it can become all-encompassing. But for you, obviously, it's always secondary to your snooker, but a way to kind of turn your attention to something different, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's really good fun. It's a nice thing to sort of keep you constantly sort of active with football as well. I think that where it's good for me is that when I travel, overseas around the world, I keep like a really good close eye on all the football results and have like an invested interest in it. Just as an example, I don't know, like say Fulham could be playing Southampton or something, and a game I'd never watch or have really any interest in it. But if you've got players in that team, like you've got Smith Rowe or Muniz or something like that, then all of a sudden you've got a real interest in it. And yeah, it's just something to kind of to have more involvement in football. And, can kind of, it's funny because it can make you like want teams to do well that historically you'd want to do bad. Like Spurs, for example, every week I used to like enjoy when they would get beat, and then all of a sudden, if you got Porro in your team, you're absolutely gutted if they lose their clean sheet. Where obviously, a couple of years ago, I'd be cheering every goal that they conceded. So it is quite funny because you cheer on certain players that you used to hate and stuff like that. So, but no, it's really good fun. It's really good fun. You meet a lot of great people in the community as well, and have a lot of good fun and banter with people on social media. And it's nice to see that I'm not the only one who really sort of stresses about it as well, especially during like the transfer window and stuff like that too, which ends on Friday. So I think everyone will have a bit more of a better idea with their teams where they want to go moving forward.
Yeah, that's a big window. Chai, how stressful has your first couple of weeks been? Because you went no Haaland, but actually your points have been really good considering Haaland went and scored a big game week 2, but you've done all right without him, right?
Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing with the start. I think, considering that Haaland scored a hat-trick last week, I can be very happy with the start so far because this was the money fixture for Haaland owners. And hopefully now over the next 4 or 5, we can do some catch-up.
We're going to have to talk. I'll do a poll in a minute for who is going to be your Game Week 3 captain. But obviously, Haaland's a great shout. But if you own Cole Palmer, he's also a brilliant shout at home to Crystal Palace. Surely he is. Saka's got a home fixture against Brighton, and then Salah is away to Man United. So I think captaincy might be fairly well split this week, which will be really interesting. We're going to talk wildcard. We're going to look through all of our drafts. We've got some data to show you as well. But before we do, Neil, what's your take on Chelsea bin from Game Week 2? Because Cole Palmer is in a ton of teams, but when we look at the engaged managers on, say, FPL Twitter and content creators, he's not in that many. I think that's about to change after what we saw Game Week 2, because when you text me about him playing number 10, he was bang on there. Madueke in the team on the wide right, is very good for Palmer playing 10. And with that lineup and with that formation, it seems to be his position, right?
Yeah, the only reason why I didn't have Palmer going into the start of the season was because, for one, we had Manchester City at home. 2, he was heavily involved in the Euros with England, obviously getting to the final. And also, thirdly, I wasn't too sure whether or not he would play Palmer wide right.
Yeah.
And in Maresca's system, like the wingers on both sides, they really hug the touchlines, don't they? They're not really involved until that kind of final pass in the final third. And Nkunku was doing well in pre-season playing centrally, so I thought that it might be Palmer who gets shifted out to wide right. And against City, that was the case, and he wasn't very effective there. A little bit in and out of the game. But then against Wolves, he played as the 10 with Madueke on the right, and it was a completely different story. He was involved in everything and scored an absolutely wonderful goal. And then set up Madueke. And I think Madueke is actually complements him really well on the right, because Madueke is very selfish in a good way, where Palmer can get a lot of assists through him, because Madueke always looks to either cut inside and shoot on his left. And a lot of Chelsea fans would have seen this in pre-season. He's practicing so much going both ways, because last season he could only kind of come inside and shoot on his left, but now he can go both ways. And he scored last Thursday. He scored a right-footed goal to help us win 2-0, and he did the same on the weekend against Wolves. I think the first, was it the second and third goal, were they both with his right foot?
I think they were. Yeah, he's so direct, isn't he? Like he probably offers something a little bit different to most wide men at Chelsea. I think Pedro Neto might be similar. We haven't seen him much in a Chelsea shirt, but that direct approach, is he someone you'd consider, or do you just feel at Chelsea because of the size of the squad that you just go Cole Palmer and you don't look at perhaps the cheaper guys who we've already been stung by in Nkunku? Or do you consider Madueke now? He's had a price drop to 6.4 and he's gone back up to 6.5 already.
Yeah, I think Madueke is like a decent gamble for sure. Then why I wouldn't go with Neto is because Palmer is the one who will be like sort of playing the killer pass. So if Palmer was to play the same kind of ball to Neto in the positions that Madueke was getting the ball, Neto would then look to pass it to somebody else in a better position. So Palmer would get like the pre-assist, if you know what I mean, and wouldn't get that direct assist point. So I think if Madueke's playing, then that's always going to be really good news for Palmer, because he's got a chance to get so many assists and essentially anyway. So to obviously score goals, and he's on pens. So I mean, as an outside punt, you could probably sort of try and squeeze both in, but I think that's a big ask.
Yeah, okay. And Chai, what about Spurs? We've asked Neil about our team, Chelsea, but Spurs first couple of weeks, I mean, for 45 minutes against Leicester, amazing. Just didn't quite score the goals. But against Everton, you blew them away. Is that a sign of things to come, or is it just easy opposition for Spurs?
A bit of both. I'm sure like a big test as this week against Newcastle away. I think it'd be a massive game for us, especially going at home to Arsenal the next week. But yeah, I have to say I was very impressed with Spurs' opening 2 fixtures. Now I know that first fixture was very, very disappointing, and it's something we've seen a lot towards the end of last season, where we were having a lot of the ball, but we weren't putting the ball in the back of the net. But yeah, I thought we played quite well against Everton, especially at home. I think it was an amazing performance. I was delighted with it, and I think you would have expected that going into the game. Everton not looking the best, 2 poor results now, so it'd be interesting to see if they're going to be slipping near the bottom 3. But yeah, amazing performance so far, and I'm looking forward to Saturday, I think it is.
Yeah, okay. Chai, we've disagreed a bit on Son in the past, because you've said a few times I think I'm right in saying this. You've said he's just as good on the left-hand side as number 9. It's a whole myth that he's better when he plays 9. But as an owner and watching him in the first 2 game weeks, we've seen him play left, we've seen him play 9. If we just take this season, I know it's a small sample size, but the way Ange Postecoglou is using his wide men, it really does put me off Son when he's out wide, because a bit like the Chelsea wingers, there's chalk on their boots. When we saw Son down the middle, he was so good, wasn't he? Like, we kind of want, ideally, no Solanke in the team for Son. Maybe when Solanke's back, Son's not as good.
I suppose it depends. We need to see more Spurs with Solanke up top. But I suppose the 2 goals that we did see was one goalkeeper error, and the other one was a counter attack where Mickey van de Ven was central and he just ran the whole pitch. If someone was on the wing, he still could have scored that goal centrally. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
good point.
I get what you're saying. But yeah, if he's playing up top, I know a lot of people will be licking their lips, but for me, it doesn't make too much of a difference.
Neil, what's your take there of Spurs in general? Because I'm a Son owner, so I was obviously delighted. And we can see here, I've got a graphic of just their average position, which is, I mean, it's pretty funky. Like you see Udogie and Porro, the fullbacks, in like number 10 positions, but then you see how wide Odegaard is on the left and Johnson on the right. Now, Son played in that wide left Odegaard role against Leicester, but when you look at the fullbacks for Porro and Udogie, they're both surely brilliant owns because of the average position they're taking up.
Yeah, that's amazing, really, looking at that. Madison's like I guess he's sort of like the deep lying.
He comes deep to get the ball quite often. I mean, I guess in open play, he's often quite higher than that Madison, but he'll get on the ball early. And yeah, Udogie and Porro always ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm surprised more people haven't maybe gone for Udogie. I think, well, Porro's, done really well. But yeah, I'm not so sure with Son. Like he was so weird last season, wasn't he? It was like, he had a really good spell, I think sort of somewhat early to middle on. Then he faded away a bit, and I don't know. I got burned by Chai so many times going into his live stream, his deadline stream, and like he was like, "Yeah, go for it, Neil, captain him, come on, let's go."
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I'm sort of taking it a bit easy on Spurs at the moment, but I think I'm kind of like waiting to see how they play with Solanke, a fully fit Solanke in the team. If Solanke drops a bit deeper and then sort of Son runs in behind, because Son's at his best when he is running in behind, right, and has that space to, run into and create those 1v1s. If he is actually made to play, wide, chalk on his boots, then I think for 10 million, I think he's pretty expensive. So, yeah, just wait and see, I suppose. I'm not too sure when Solanke is going to be back fit. Is he probably missing this weekend as well? Or
yeah, we wasn't seen in training today. There was a 3 or 4 minute clip on X they posted, and Solanke was nowhere to seen. Also, no Van de Ven and no Richarlison, but I think they could be elsewhere. I think Van de Ven played the full game, so he should be fine.
But no Richarlison is interesting because, we haven't seen a start from Richarlison, have we?
Yeah, so I wonder, was he just doing physiotherapy or maybe it was something like that? But he came on towards the end of last game, so I think he should be fine unless he's after picking up a knock. But we will hear from Ange, and he'll be quite transparent. So let's see.
And they tried to sell him to Saudi, didn't they?
Yeah.
Once they got Solanke, and he's not keen, is he, Richarlison?
He actually posted on his Instagram that he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting.
Ange was asked in a presser about it, and he straight up said, which was quite interesting, that if he does go, we'll sign a new striker. We'll definitely sign someone. So I thought, it's unusual to see managers do something like that, but I mean, I'm all for it.
He's one of the best, Postecoglou, in terms of when he's asked questions on a Thursday or Friday, he gives an accurate answer. So he'll tell us if Solanke's available for Saturday, because he's just that type of manager. A bit like with Porro, we knew he was fine. And he told us ahead of game week 1, Solanke hasn't had much of a pre-season at Bournemouth, but he's still going to be ready for us. And he did start the Leicester game. So he's definitely up there in my favourite managers for press conferences, Postecoglou. And bottom of the list, Arteta and Eddie Howe. Don't believe a word they say.
The worst with Gordon last year, Eddie Howe. Dear Lord. Yeah, he said, he was on crutches at training, and then all of a sudden he comes out and gets 3 attacking returns. So, yeah, I mean, Eddie Howe. I hate that about those two, actually, because you just can't, how many times Saka, Arteta says, Saka's out, and he plays 90 minutes.
Yeah, Saka will be willed out on one leg quite often. Guys, do let us know in the chat. FPL Focus with us. He says he loves a straight-talking manager of FPL. How is the worst? Yeah. Guys, let us know your best and worst in the chat. It'll be interesting to see. Let's have a look at some graphics. Before we see our wildcard teams, we're going to see Neil's team both pre and possibly post-wildcard if he hits that button. But we're going to see me and Chai put together a couple of versions too. I've just got some stats to show, just looking so far at the top 5 and a few metrics, which is interesting so far. Eze is clearing away the most active in terms of shots. We can see here, Eze has had 12 shots so far. That's more than the likes of Haaland, more than Salah. Does this tempt you, Chai? What with Eze? What's your take there? Because so many are selling him.
Yeah, I had Eze in my team for 3 weeks before the season started, and I think I've gotten away with murder that he's not returned yet.
Yeah.
I went with Jota instead, thankfully. And if you're an Eze owner, you're definitely very unfortunate. For me, I'll definitely hold on to him unless you're wildcard maybe. He plays Chelsea away next, not the best fixture. I don't think he's ever returned against them. Don't quote me on that. But I think in general, Eze is a hold if you own him.
Yeah, the chat agree. Holly agrees. Sammy agrees. Neil, what's your take there for Madueke? Because 6 shots, pretty much all, I think, all came in that second game, but he's up there. And from those shots, the light green is on target. This is all from the Scout members area, guys. There's a Scout link in the description if you want to know more. But Madueke, I think 5 of those shots on target, which is pretty impressive. He hits the target.
He does actually. I think it was in the it was the shot that led to the corner, right? For Jackson to score. He cut in on his left foot, and he had a really good, powerful shot. And the Wolves keeper pushed it behind for a corner. So that was the first one, and then obviously the next 3 shots as well. I think that he scored from. Against City, I don't think he was too involved. Maybe played a little bit, but. He, like I say, he's very direct, right? So he always looks to sort of cut in and shoot. And when he does shoot, he doesn't shoot from unrealistic angles, right? He genuinely does have an actual shot at the goal to actually score. And another thing that could actually be good for him from an FPL point of view is obviously the rebound assist. You shoot it at the keeper, rebounds, and then someone scores. Is that still counts as an assist this year? Does it?
Yeah, it does. And he does hit the ball so hard that you can imagine keepers spilling a lot of Madueke shots.
Yeah,
you kind of want Jackson on hand there as a poacher.
Yeah, it's like in FIFA where you'd shoot from an acute angle on purpose and the keeper would just parry it into the box and then you'd just rifle it in. So
we're going to see that. We're actually going to see that in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to clip this because that will happen. By the way Madueke strikes the ball, we're going to see a ton of keepers getting hands to the ball, but probably not keeping the ball out, or if they're keeping it out, they're parrying it into a bad area. That'll be definitely one to monitor if Madueke gets starts. Go on.
I have to say, I'm very skeptical on Madueke.
Yeah,
all this Chelsea talk now, we're gonna have to put a stop to it here.
But who from Tottenham are we going to squeeze in?
No, but I was listening to Let's Talk FPL this morning, and he actually made a really good point. So Madueke is playing on the right, and that's usually Palmer's position. I just can't see Nkunku being benched for the foreseeable future. I think he's probably your second or third best player. And if he's going to play, he's probably going to play centrally. So that knocks Palmer back out to the right. And I don't know how nailed Madueke is.
I cannot see that happening. I think that on the left, long term, we're going to see Neto will be starting on the left. You're going to have Madueke on the right, Palmer in behind, Jackson, and then Enzo Fernandez is going to switch from the double pivot into also the spot alongside Palmer, when we're in possession, when the fullback inverts. And that's just how it's going to be, I think. I think Nkunku is probably maybe second choice on the left, and also he's battling with Jackson as the striker role. I think that Jackson just offers so much outside the box with his running and how good his link-up play is. And Nkunku's not quite as quick as Jackson. So I think those two are going to be fighting out for the striker position unless we sign Osimhen. But I think on the right, that's Madueke's position to lose now. And Nkunku is not too effective in the wide positions.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm with you there, Neil. I mean, as the season goes on, maybe things change. And look, I always completely respect Andy's football opinion, but as a United fan, I pinch of salt.
He hates Chelsea as well, Andy. I've spoken to him. Last season he was loving it when we were getting hammered every week.
He is a Cole Palmer fan though, and he's right. He does. Cole Palmer, he would have seen Cole Palmer last season playing on the right and gone, that's his position. Look, at times last season, if you'd asked me where would I prefer to see Cole Palmer in the Pochettino system, I'd have said on the right because he gets a bit more time and space there and he can cut in. But on the right in this Maresca system is very different to on the right on the Pochettino system.
Yeah,
the right in the Maresca system, you've got to stay wide because there's no fullbacks pushing over.
Exactly. Where Gusto last year, he was constantly overlapping with Palmer, and Palmer loved it because Palmer would come inside, Gusto would overlap. But it doesn't happen anymore. Like the wingers have to stay super wide. And with Palmer, what I would say is I think that when we play maybe against Liverpool or Arsenal, then I think that Palmer will probably play wide right.
As he did against Man City game week 1, and he played Nkunku there. But traditionally, Maresca wants to play the majority of games, certainly against average or easier opposition with proper wingers. That's why even Mudryk got a look in. I do wonder where because Andy's also right when he says Nkunku's one of their best players, because he is. And where does he fit
He
in?
is,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
might be a case of square peg round hole there, because he's not going to beat Palmer to the 10. He's probably second string back up to Jackson as the 9, and they might even sign a number 9. And he's probably the second choice left winger as well. And then there's the idea of, can you play him as number 8, which is where he got a ton of minutes pre-season, but he wants to play a double pivot. And if he plays with, say, Caicedo, he could go Caicedo, Nkunku and Palmer, but that's all-out attack. And will he only do that against like Ipswich at home, maybe? I don't know. But he's proper versatile, but I think it's going to work against Nkunku being that versatile.
Yeah, I think he's going to be someone at the moment who's going to be coming on and getting like sort of 20, 25 minutes, coming in for one of those spots where say Maduaka gets subbed off and then Nkunku comes on, then that switches Palmer out to the right and Nkunku plays as the 10, or Jackson comes off and Nkunku comes on. I think at the moment he's going to be like a bit of a Swiss Army knife and not start many games. Thursday will be interesting because will he start on Thursday because he didn't start on Sunday? Will he be the striker there and, Jackson will be rested? So I think we'll get a lot of good information from Thursday as well, because it's a game we have to win from Chelsea's point of view. We're only 2-0 up, so we do have to manage that game well and make sure we do get through to the group stages, because even though we don't want to be in that competition, it started last season, it's not really what you want to be in, but we are in it and it is important to try and do well. So
yeah, that winning momentum. Also, with Chelsea's squad, we need to give these boys a run out on Thursday night.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need competition.
We've got 2 squads.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on and talk about I've got some bonus points info I wanted to share. Just Chai, I wanted to get your take on this, because there's the obvious in there, the Haalands, the Palmers, but the likes of Welbeck, like 72 BPS so far. We can see Romero in there. We can see Sons. There's a couple of Spurs. Trent always delivering in the bonus. Now, these are obviously BPS, which is the bonus point score. That then translates to, in the game, you get 3, 2, 1 or bonus points. But the guys that are clocking the highest BPS will inevitably clock the highest bonus points. Chai, what do you make of some of those guys that perhaps aren't the most obvious? Like you'd expect to see a Saka, not a Welbeck, for example.
Yeah, Welbeck absolutely starting the season with a bang. I unfortunately went with the other Brighton striker, but I don't regret it. I don't think there's any world where you would pick a Welbeck over someone that's on penalties, like João Pedro. And I thought João Pedro has been quite good. And he's played a lot of minutes.
So well.
Yeah. I think he's a great. I think both are good buys.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely still happy with João Pedro. And then he has Ipswich after the Arsenal fixture next week. Another surprise on the list, but it makes sense after watching the game, is Romero. He made 2 big chances and he had 2 big chances, scored one of them. I thought he was amazing, absolutely phenomenal. But for 5 million, I don't know if he will ever become an option. Spurs don't exactly do clean sheets, let's be honest. But maybe if you want to rotate him for maybe the odd home fixture, I think it could be a bit of a gamble. And then, of course, De Bruyne, who isn't being talked about too much, I don't think. Yeah. Maybe his goal was gifted to him a small bit, but he's playing phenomenally. Hit the crossbar as well. So not surprised to see De Bruyne in here, but I wish people were talking about him a bit more.
Yeah, what's our take with De Bruyne? Because, Charles, I'll stay with you on this. I'm not going to lie. As someone that's looking to sell Son in the next couple of weeks, I have considered and looked at De Bruyne. I guess the fear is Champions League starts up in a couple of weeks, and as soon as it does, we worry about Pep Roulette. But for the time being, De Bruyne at 9.5 is a bit of a steal. For you, who doesn't have Haaland, it must be a real tempter.
Yeah, for sure. I nearly brought him in last week. Unfortunately, I didn't do it because I thought Foden was going to play as well, and that would have made De Bruyne sit a bit deeper with Roger out. But yeah, I definitely think he's a viable option. The Champions League, I'm not too worried about, only because a lot of people are going to wildcard in Gameweek 6 anyway, so I don't think you have to be too worried about that. And same with the Villa boys. That's why I'm happy to go with the Rodgers, maybe short term, and then wildcard him out if it comes to it.
Yeah, okay. Neil, what's your take with Man City mids like De Bruyne, who have got the upside but always come with a bit of risk?
I think he definitely would have been good for an early punt, I think, in the start of the season. But yeah, it's you never really know sort of where he's going to be. I think he's going to have his minutes managed this season. That's pretty obvious. And he's not the player he once was, where he could pick the ball up from deep and run by 2 or 3 people. So yeah, it just all depends. I mean, Pep may prefer him in the Premier League over the Champions League. Maybe in the group stages of the Champions League, may think that he doesn't really need him. Because they control the game so well in that anyway. De Bruyne probably won't be too happy about that, but they're going to have to manage the squad really well because Kovacic is out. Not sure for how much longer. Rodri is still sort of searching for full fitness as well himself. So they've got a bit of catching up to do fitness-wise in that. And, Foden, we get to see him. Again, who's the wing? Is it Savinho or something?
Oh yes, yeah, he does look good.
He's so exciting.
He moves like Mahrez, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's amazing to watch. And what he did to Cucurella when him and Doku switched sides. He was absolutely brilliant. So I think that he's also another one who could be quite exciting. But when Foden comes back, is Foden going to be on the right or is he going to be middle? Similar kind of City problems as always is that you never know with Pep, when he's going to rotate or not. So again, it's just something I'm waiting to look at. But if Savinho nails down that right hand side, then I think for his price, he could be a really good deal.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Chai, João Pedro does go on international duty with Brazil, very likely. We've seen him called up recently. Does that affect us for game week 4? They play a couple. It's not a huge break between the last game and game week 4. That might put a few off. Does that mean
that's a very good point from Oscar. I never even accounted for that. But I suppose unless I was on Wildcard or something in 3 to prepare for Danny Welbeck, I don't think I'll be bringing him in otherwise. But I do like that for a bit of a punt. He's definitely on some form, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like this from Danny Welbeck since it's been ages. So let's see.
Yeah, I was looking at the fixtures.
Savio, his name is, sorry.
Yeah, Savio. Yeah, well, it's weird. I think on the back of his shirt he's got Savinho though, which is weird. But he's definitely written a Savio on the FPL site.
Right.
When we see the Brighton fixtures here, they're towards the kind of second half of the ticker because it's Arsenal up next. But for those that are looking at wildcarding either now or game week 4, if you're not worried about João Pedro and Brazil, it's Ipswich at home game week 4, Forest at home game week 5, and then even Chelsea and Spurs feel like games in which Brighton will score. Like he's definitely going to be on the top of many wish lists, João Pedro, who of course we're worried about Brighton and the amount of good players they're buying, but he has more routes to that 11 than most. Like we'll often see him start as the number 10, or Welbeck comes off and he moves to the number 9, as we saw against Man United, or for the minutes Mitoma's not on the pitch, and I think Mitoma's going to be on the pitch the vast majority of the time because it's Mitoma, but João Pedro can also play left. So in terms of routes to the 11, there's 3 good ones there for João Pedro, and I don't think we should be that worried. I think he's still one of, if not the main man at Brighton, and one to consider because he's so cheap. We're going to have a look more at a few data slides. I just wanted to look at some of the XG achievers before we see our wildcard team. So stay tuned for that. If you are tuning in, do hit that like button. I'd love us to get to a couple of 100 likes on this show. So please do show your support for the channel. But also, if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm sure many of you already are, but loads of you would have forgotten that you're not already subscribed. Do check out FPL Chai as well. Chai, put something in the chat so we can hit subscribe on your channel as well. And maybe at some point, one day, FPL team who says, when are we going to see Gianni versus Neil pool table?
Yes.
I mean, that would be some stream, but it would be rather embarrassing.
You have to come up to Cambridge, mate, and then play me on my
full
table.
Size. Get me on a 12-foot table, and I'll be even more embarrassing. But one day, I hope. Chai, let's have a look at some of these XG over performers because Eze, Bruno, you own both these players, right?
I own Bruno. I don't own Eze.
Oh, no, you don't own Eze. You were close on Eze, but you've got Bruno.
I prefer to own Eze than owning Bruno right now. Definitely going to hold my fate in Bruno. I actually don't mind that Liverpool fixture too much. It's at home. That's a type of fixture where anything can happen. Of course, Liverpool being the favourites, but if United are going to score a goal, it probably will be through Bruno. And then they have that lovely Southampton fixture in the next week. So I think I am going to hold on. He got a price drop this week. Quite unfortunate, but for me, I feel like I'm hard done by not getting a return. I'm sure you're already after listening to Big Man for a while, so I won't go on too much.
He posted on Instagram saying sorry to his official FPL owners, didn't he? Bruno?
I know, so funny.
So good to see that. Like I forget how many footballers are into that. Oh, did Haaland too?
Yeah, Haaland said, "Did anyone triple captain me?"
His dad did.
Oh, was it? I
I
thought it was
saw.
on. I thought it was on Haaland's Instagram. Did anyone triple captain me?
He did, yeah.
And his dad triple captained him. I saw Oscar tweet that. So that was brilliant. I loved it. His dad. I remember last season we knew he was injured because his dad and all his mates or his cousin or whatever had sold him.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh,
there's
sold
a
him
lot
in
of
FPL.
good inside info going on there. I'm still baffled at how the players are allowed to play this game. Like,
I'm not sure they're going to be allowed to. For long.
Gamblers, like
I've spoken to people
betting
at Premier League,
websites
and
and
I'd be
everything
shocked.
would just be absolutely all over this. Like they would be using this information for sure.
Yeah.
Having a look at this XG, so like looking at Watkins at 0.87.
Yeah.
So what was his XG against Arsenal? Because
Yeah.
I mean, that header, are you trying to tell me that? Like,
Yeah.
how often is he expected to get that goal there? Is this like the overall of how much they've underperformed so far?
Yeah. So this season, he's only clocked 0.87 in total, but he didn't play a full game in game week 1, and he came off early game week 2 as well. So he's he's probably only had 100 minutes. But yeah, that header was, I think, 0.6, 0.7. I think Watkins's XG should be way higher than it is. And there's different XG models, right? Because there was also the massive chance in the first half where my boy Rogers put it on a plate for Watkins, and that was given as like an XG of 0.2 or something. And I was like, come on, that should be 0.8. Like, that's 80% of the time that goes in, surely. Because so different models are different numbers for it.
Yeah, because Jackson's expected assist for Palmer when he lobbed the keeper was 0.01. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what is that? 1 in 100 times Palmer's expected to score from there?
Yeah.
When he just has to really, for him, on the half volley, to lift it up over the keeper. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think that kind of...
But that's the key. It's not judged for Cole Palmer, because we know for Cole Palmer, it's judged by all professional footballers and all the data they've got from when the ball is in that position, how many times does it go in? So Palmer is always going to be an overachiever because he's an elite finisher.
Son Heung-min too.
Because watching that Wolves-Chelsea game, if you look at the XG, if you're someone who watched minute 1 to 90, and if you see the XG stats after, like, you're kind of ripping your hair out looking at that, because there's no way we were expected to score a goal and a half from that. Like, we could have scored 7, 8, or 9 at the end. Like, it was crazy how many times we were on the counter attack. So, yeah, I got quite annoyed with the XG, actually, because on Match of the Day, they're like, oh, can you believe Chelsea 6-2 and they had less XG? I'm like, oh,
yeah. It can be very flawed, and there's different models. I'm about to read the book, the XG Philosophy. I'm going on holiday next week. I'm going to read it, and I'm buzzing to read that because I want to know more. Because I want to know more about some models. Look at the goalkeeper position. Some might look at the bounce of the ball. Some might take into account, I don't know, the wind, whatever. And I think the vast majority of the models we see, or the main models, are just literally ball on that point of the pitch. How many times does it go in? But often we'll watch a game and go, that should be 0.7 and 0.8.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's actually 0.2, 0.3. It's often way lower than we think it might be. Chai, what's your take on XG? Because I love it, but there's no way it's always bang on the money, because that Wolves-Chelsea game is a prime example. No way should Wolves have won that game based on XG. Like, come off it.
Yeah, no, I actually really like XG. When it was coming out, it always, it's hard to understand, and it's not something to the naked eye. And I suppose after watching so many games and seeing, do you know the XG account that posts the figures, seeing what the scores are at the end of the game, it's always interesting. So I think over time now I'm starting to build like my own model in my head, if that makes any sense. But yeah, no, it's really cool. And
it is for sure.
It's like, I kind of, for a 6-2 result and for Wolves to outclock your XG, I suppose it just says that you're clinical, and you're good with your chances. So XG is great for football.
Yeah, it is. I'm a big fan of it, even if I don't always agree with it. I love the addition, and I love the fact it's now in the mainstream media more, and even Match of the Day will talk about it. It's really interesting. I can see, FPLT makes a good point. Some people say StatsBomb's the best model because it does take into account things like the other players' positions. There are elite XG overperformers too, like Erling Haaland. I saw a stat today from like his Premier League goals, I don't know, 82, whatever he scored so far. His XG on them was like 81.06. Like, he's almost bang on the money in terms of he doesn't overperform. Yes, we know he's a great finisher, but he hits about par. But then there's players like Sonny, who, if you were to take the last 7-8 seasons Son's been at Spurs, every single season without fail, he will overperform his XG. He's probably, if in terms of where he should be to where he is, the best finisher in the Premier League, Heung-min Son. Like, I think Harry Kane was up there too. They were both like that good. But anyone want to put any names in the chat? Those that always overperform or underperform, do let us know. In terms of the guys that always underperform, yeah, Nico Jackson underperforms. Darwin Núñez, Gabby Jesus, the ones you might think, yeah, they actually do. They should score more. Calvert-Lewin.
He was one of the biggest ones last season.
Was he?
Yeah.
Núñez was just he was the one that had me sort of throwing my phone against the wall. Like, it was just watching him last season, mate, it was unbelievable. It was like post bar, bar bar post. Like,
yeah. Hit the woodwork so much. Sammy's got a great shout there. Visser would definitely, I'm sure he must overperform. He's a really good finisher. So is Jota. Jota's a great finisher.
Yeah, Jota, great finisher. Yeah.
Underperformer Darwin. Yeah, Watkins is a traditional underperformer. I doubt he was last year, but he usually is. And yeah, Jota is a player. You go, give him the minutes. And even if you get 70, you take it because he's just such a good finisher. Many will say Jota is the best finisher at Liverpool, actually. And same with Visser.
Carragher said that as well.
Did he?
Carragher said that about Jota. Yeah, he says Jota is the best finisher at Liverpool since Robbie Fowler.
Wow. Okay, I like that. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, we've built this show, the Wildcard show. We haven't seen any Wildcard drafts yet. So, guys, we want your take on this. We want to know if you've used a Wildcard or will use it game week 3 as well. So I'll do a poll in a minute and you can get voting. Havertz has been outdoing his XG since he's been at Arsenal. Yeah, I bet he didn't at Chelsea. Bowen, Bowen overachieves. Isak, some good examples there. But look, let's move on and look at some info with Wildcards and why we might or might not use them. So Neil, am I right in thinking this is your current team with 0.5 in the bank and 2 free transfers?
Yes.
It doesn't look that bad.
No, my team, I'm all right. I mean, I got 77 points last week, so it's not too bad.
It's more Cole Palmer,
it's like really want to get Cole Palmer in, and like I say, like Hall and Barco, they don't seem to be playing at all. Nkunku, obviously, out of favour at the moment. I'm not really too happy about Henderson being in goal, but I'm not desperate to remove a keeper. But I mean, apart from that, like, the team's going well. I've been a bit unlucky with Eze. All Eze owners have been quite unlucky so far, and a lot of people took the punt on Nkunku as well based on the pre-season form. So, and even Rodgers as well, right? Rodgers has been unlucky not to get some more returns as well, because he played brilliant against Arsenal. I was incredibly impressed by him there.
Yeah, me too. As an owner, I just was like,
and the other thing is that I was gonna, before the price drop, I was gonna transfer Nkunku out for Smith Rowe, because I could see Nkunku dropping in price and Smith Rowe going up in price.
Yeah. And
I fell asleep, and then I woke up at about 10 to 6 in the morning in a panic, and I quickly checked the prices, and it was too late.
Oh, you are so one of us. I love that. How is the jet lag and stuff, by the way? How long have you been back from China? Have you been back a week or two? We last spoke probably 2-3 weeks ago, and you were about to leave for China.
I got back on Friday. So that was fine. Yeah, I'm going to Saudi Arabia on this Friday in a few days. So so I'll be certainly. It's funny because I actually booked my flights in a way where I won't miss any FPL deadlines.
Yeah, nice. I love that.
But yeah, so I'll be able to watch the deadline streams and everything, and to see what's going on. So I'm still I haven't activated the wildcard yet. I'm still sort of very open-minded. But yeah, looking at my team there, look, I do have a good team, so it's not like I've got an absolute disaster or anything. But we'll see.
Yeah, okay. I mean, look, Chai, the benefit of wildcarding now, if you're Neil, is actually having 2 free transfers is quite useful, because for the first time ever, we can go into a wildcard with transfers saved and still carry them through. So Neil could wildcard this week and still have 2 transfers banked for the first time ever. That's quite a nice position to be in, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Neil, I actually really, really like your team.
Okay.
I wouldn't be anywhere near wildcard. I suppose you do have a few players who might be an issue or might become an issue in the future. Like the likes of Diogo Jota, who, with the likes of Chiesa coming in now, we don't know what his future looks like. Of course, he's probably going to be the main man, but you could see his minutes probably getting lowered. But in general, I would say it's fairly solid. I'm not too worried if I had your team with the likes of a Hall and a Barco. I don't think you need him right now. But yeah, I think it's quite solid.
Oh, thank you.
It's. I
what
guess
about, there's no Spurs players in there, mate. So what's good?
That's how you know it's good. When I'm saying your team is good, and you've got none of the Spurs boys.
What do we make of no? I mean, for you, Neil, the big reasons to wildcard is to get someone like Cole Palmer in. Where is that the main reason for you?
Yeah,
you'd bring him in and captain him. I guess
I would really hate to miss out on a haul this week with Crystal Palace at home, because I just think that with the momentum we were building from that Wolves game, and if we have a good game on Thursday, then I think Stamford Bridge will be really rocking. And Crystal Palace haven't quite sort of sorted their team out yet, and Mark Guehi could be off. He may not even be playing in that game if Newcastle come back in for him. So yeah, we just have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it would be a shame to miss out on that home fixture, I think, in general, because I think we could definitely score multiple goals. And if you look at my keeper, it's obviously Henderson, so he could be in for a bit of a hiding there as well. So yeah, we'll wait and see. It's just start of the season, it was a choice out of Saka and Palmer. And the reason why I went for Saka was because I thought that the early fixtures suited Arsenal more than Chelsea, and I wasn't too sure where Palmer would play. But now we know he's going to be in the 10. Like, I'm desperate to get him in.
Yeah, I hear that. By the way, FPL Raptor is in, and he thinks I should be the one that wildcards. He's rated my team 3 out of 10. I wonder where he's got that from.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, you rated his 3 out of 10, didn't you?
I did. I put, mate. Not only did I actually rated his team like 7 or 8, I think, during the stream, but I put it on the thumbnail as 3. Yeah.
Yeah, you were on a rampage that night. I don't think anyone got better than a 5 out of 10 from you.
Yeah, Holly did, but that's only because I do a podcast with her. Raptor with the trash talk. Love that. Well, hello to Ross who's tuning in. Good shout out to FPL team. Shout out to Focals in the chat as well. So
he went for no Haaland, didn't he, Ross?
He did, I think.
Yeah. I like that.
Him and Chai, both on no
Haaland.
The
only other content creator that seemed to do it. I didn't think he pulled through. I have to say, Ross, I didn't think you had the cojones, but fair play.
He did it last year, and he did. He dropped like a couple of million in rank, and he was in bits, but then he rebounded really, really well. Yeah, that was funny. I was like, because like every day if I'm practicing by myself, I've got the AirPods in, and I just cycle through all you guys' YouTube channels with your Gameweek teams and all that sort of stuff, and so cycling through Ross's, and that it was quite funny, the change of where he was when I think Haaland, what did he get, like a brace and a hat trick, and he missed out on that, but then he stuck to his guns, and he turned it around. So it's quite funny being on this journey with everyone, while I'm practicing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, love that. Do we not distract you? I mean, can you put us, like, when you're practicing? Obviously, it's great because it's sort of background noise and your focus is on the balls. But you find that as a good way of kind of being like only ever background, and therefore can concentrate on sinking the pink or potting the black.
Yeah, exactly. And also then if I got my AirPods in, then I can't really hear any of the other noise from like the other tables that are on as well, and stuff like that. So it's just like perfect. It's just. It's almost like sort of like therapy, right? I'm just in there. I'm just in the zone, sort of meditating, like potting balls and listening to FPL. It's perfect. It's not even really practice. Like 3 hours go by in no time. So it's cool. So it's important that you guys keep making all this content so I can just keep listening to it.
Well, I'm glad to see Chai's been doing videos as well as lives. And if you do want to check out a deadline stream this week, then FPL Chai will be live on Saturday morning. Are you live on Saturday morning, Chai?
Absolutely, 100%.
There you go. Make that your deadline stream of choice, guys. This is a potential team that you could put together on a wildcard, Neil, which, I'm not going to lie, it looks very good. Very good. I love, people will slate the Nico Jackson shout because people hate on Chelsea. Given the Chelsea fixtures, Jackson's actually at 7, like a nice differential. Palmer in there too for that Chelsea run. You've still got Haaland, you've got no Salah, but you have Jota and Robertson, who looks like Robertson could get quite close to Trent, and you save $1 million.
Yeah, you know what, Robertson, right? I was watching him, and also I saw someone do like a tactical breakdown of Robertson today, and I was noticing it.
I saw it on Twitter.
In the Brentford game. He's not overlapping; he's underlapping and getting in the box. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he scored like a couple of goals in a game or something, because he's getting into real good attacking positions, and he is quite a good finisher anyway, right? I think there was a season under Klopp where he went absolutely nuts, with goals and assists. So, and I think you save that million, and he seems to be the one who's playing 90 minutes. Where I think we saw on the weekend Trent played 70-odd minutes and Bradley came on. I really like Robertson. Obviously, Trent's great as well, right? He's got the free kick threat and everything like that. But Robertson's also on his fair share of corners. So, I quite like it. The team is this team I really like. The only thing is, it still has a lot of players that I have from my current team, so it doesn't feel like I'm maximizing the wild card. But I think overall, I like the look of it, and I think Chelsea, with the fixtures that are coming up, I think we could really score a lot of goals, and I think Jackson's going to be a big part of that as well.
Yeah, and Burmo as well, if you're on wildcard, feels like an absolute must on wildcard. Like with Tony out the team, and Burmo's numbers are ridiculous, and we know Tony is now leaving. It's a great entry point for the Southampton fixture. João Pedro doesn't come with a good entry point, but then his fixtures are amazing in 4 and 5. Fass, there are rumours that he could leave Leicester, but the beauty of a wildcard this week is the window closes on Friday. You don't lock your team until Saturday. So, of course, there's opportunities there to react to whatever we see in the transfer market. Chai, what's your take here? Because you love a differential, and there's a fair few differentials in there. Like, and Burmo's ownership, I think, 5-ish%. Jackson's ownership must be really low. Very few have got a Chelsea defender. Nedeljkovic at Aston Villa should be starting for the next 4 games. What's your take?
Yeah, no, this team is definitely a bit of me. I love a team like this. I suppose the only other thing is that Haaland's in it, but again,
you are allowed to like Haaland teams, though. I
do like Haaland teams, but
Mr. No Haaland.
That 2.5 goes a long way, But,
it does.
It's a very good team, I have to say. My only issue is, of course, I think game week 4 we have the international break, so we might see the odd injury. So wildcarding so early, and then you don't know what next week could look like. But other than that, very good team, solid.
I'm surprised that 53% of people will have their wildcard next week, and 47% will have used it in game weeks 1, 2, or 3. So half the YouTube audience watching right now will have used their wildcard in 1, 2, or 3, which I was surprised. I made a wildcard video yesterday, and I was surprised how popular it was, purely based on the amount of people looking to wildcard game week 3. So I get it. Like, clearly there's a lot of fires to put out. It's why I considered it this week. Let me just show you guys. We'll come back to this, but let me just show you guys I put together this team as a potential wildcard 11. I haven't got the bench here, but I look at it and go, oh, that's a lot of players that I want and don't have or can't easily get to. I went Haaland and Salah on a wildcard, but it doesn't have Palmer, which feels silly. Like, if you're wildcarding, it does feel like Palmer needs to be in. But because there's budget players like Smith Rowe and Rodgers and João Pedro delivering, you can get a lot of big hitters in. I've gone for a Watkins punt in this draft. But yeah, Rico Lewis is another one I like. Robinson feels like a great shout. And then Raya in goal covering the Arsenal defence. But there's a lot to tempt us. I'll just switch now to Chai's
Is Lewis 4.6 now?
Go on. I think I made the video and saw that he was likely to go up and was like, oh, the video is going to be out the next day. Therefore, I'll lie about the price and put 4.6. I think he goes up tonight. He'll be 4.6 tonight.
Really?
FPL stats, yeah.
Oh my god.
So I was just trying to second guess that move with Lewis.
It's last year. It didn't seem like that. It was as chaotic as this. The price drops and rises.
I've never seen anything like it. Like, when I saw the amount of players that had risen and dropped at the start of this week, I was like, well, you don't often see that in game week 3. Not that many. Yeah.
Like, how come, like, Madawaki, price dropped and then price increased in 1 week?
Yeah. And that's on a player that wasn't highly owned in the first place either. So you wouldn't have expected that many sales. Like, this is a guy that was pretty lowly owned to start the season. So to have a price drop was pretty surprising, because it was like, whose team is he in anyway? Game week 1. Chai, what'd you make of the volatility in the market? Because have you made any early transfers yet?
Yeah, I had to go early this week with Rodgers.
Okay. Potentially
it was because Nkunku was dropping, and he did drop, and then of course I brought in Rodgers before the rise, so it was ideal. One player that I was delighted that didn't drop was Solanke. He's still 7.5, and I think that's class. Fairly fortunate, but the player I was looking to get in was maybe a Watkins anyway, and he was. I think he's already dropped. If he's not already, he's gonna drop. So
yes, Solanke's still not gone down.
Yeah, his price is locked because I think he's
with the flag change.
Yeah.
I've still got Solanke. I've still got Nkunku. Like I've been slow. I'm going more patient this season, I think, than previous. Shall I talk us through your? This is what if you were wildcarding, you've put together something like this. So again, we can see the players you've changed because we can see the arrows. You've kept Porro in. Of course you have. But yeah, it's a good looking team.
Yeah, no, I really like it. I'm actually quite high on Martinez for a wildcard draft and Colwell. I don't mind having a Chelsea defender. I think, I'm a really big fixtures type manager. And I know, that Chelsea team isn't the most structurally sound defense in the league, but I think over a course of those type of fixtures, they'll do quite well. Maybe keep one or two. Again, we have Nedeljkovic, who is a hot topic right now. 4 million. If he's starting right back, he's the opportunity to be in every single active manager's team. Again, it really depends if they sign a new fullback before Friday, which we will find out, of course, before the deadline. Again, Porro's in, all right. But that Newcastle fixture screams goals over the last few seasons. It's actually something I wanted to talk about, with the likes of Son as well. People will call it biased, but, we have seen loads of goals in that Newcastle fixture, so I wouldn't be surprised, especially if the likes of Son is playing up top. And again, the North London Derby the next week, which another fixture where it could be anything. It could be absolutely anything. So I understand if you don't want to play Porro, but again, you have 5 defenders here, so you can easily switch them out. It was more so looking towards maybe game week 6 and 7 when we have Brentford. So it would save you a transfer in the future. And Mbeumo, of course, Southampton at home, lovely fixture. I think next week you play City, which is not ideal, but again, you've a fairly deep squad to mess around with. So yeah, I like it in general.
Yeah, I mean, you both went Mbeumo and Palmer as like sort of mainstays, and I completely understand why. And if I look at Neil's rotation there, because he's got Rodgers as his 8th attacker, or João Pedro is his 8th attacker, when Mbeumo has those tricky fixtures, because he's got 2 in game week 4-5, you could very easily bench Mbeumo because Rodgers has got really good fixtures. João Pedro's got really good fixtures. I do think one learning so far in the first few weeks for me has been have a good 8th attacker. Like I don't like the 4.5 fodder because having a Rodgers really works. Because there's always the amount of times this season we've gone, Barco's not actually nailed. Oh, he's off on loan. Kwanzaa's lost his place and Nkunku's lost his place. These things are happening. And with Champions League coming in, there's going to be even more rotation. So good 8th attacker. Yeah.
Something I was going to say, Chai, do you think Ange would have learned his lesson a bit from last season? When he was just relentlessly pushing back to journos and everything like that about, Spurs' high line, where it was against Newcastle, you lost like 4-5-1 or something. Do you think he will maybe just play a little bit differently in that game this weekend?
I actually think Ange is one of the more stubborn managers in the league. And even in the press conferences, he was fighting back with fire. He was kind of
he was
back down. So I think we're actually going to see the opposite. He's going to encourage them to play with the ball and try to control it a bit more. And get a foothold in the game in the first 5-10 minutes, I would say is likely. I can't imagine, us sitting a bit deeper. It's just not in his blood to do. Especially at the start of the game where you probably do want more of the ball. It's going to be a really tough fixture, but a massive one for us before we go off to the North London Derby.
I like that. I like the idea of Newcastle Spurs being like a 3-3 or a 4-4 because I've got Isak Gordon, but then I've got Son.
It's going to be high scoring.
I hope so. Who do you back for that, Neil? Because the last couple of games at St James's Park, Newcastle have battered Spurs, but something tells me Spurs could win this.
We owe them one.
I think Spurs have looked good so far this season. I mean, absolutely. Leicester absolutely battered Leicester. Like should have been 4-5 up by half time. And then 4-0 against Everton, I suppose. But I don't know. I think the start is really important. I think if Spurs can be solid at the start of the game, and also remember last year, like Mickey van der Ven, he had a bit of a nightmare, didn't he? Like he fell over twice, wasn't he? Like with a couple of those goals that they scored, and so I don't know. I think it's going to be an end-to-end game. I just think it will. St James's Park is going to be rocking. Ange plays Ange's way. So, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be minimum 4 goals scored overall in the game. So, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't have any defenders for either team, so I'm not too bothered. I just hope there's a lot of goals scored with Isak. So.
Yeah, no, it'll be a fun watch, I hope. We did have a super chat earlier. Sorry, Anish, I forgot to bring this in. Holding Son over Palmer for game week 3. If you can get to Palmer in one move and you've got 0.5 in the bank, I would make that transfer myself, knowing Son has Newcastle and then Arsenal. And I'm a Son owner. What would you do, Chai?
Gianni, this is the exact situation I'm in, and I've convinced myself that there will be goals in this Newcastle game. I have enough money to do Palmer for free.
Have you? I didn't know you had $500,000 in the bank.
No, I have because I done Nkunku down to Rodgers, that opened up money for me, so
right,
I can do a Son straight up. But I think because I have Jota, I really try to look forward. And I just think that Crystal Palace game, I'm unsure how to feel about it. I know it's a good fixture for you. And you expect a Palmer to return, but I can't make a move just yet. I think I'll leave it for another week.
The big question for me would be, if you own Palmer game week 3, especially because you don't own Haaland, would you captain Palmer?
I think if I bring in Palmer, I have to captain him, but that's me saying that he's automatically a better option than Son. So, I'm kind of falling back on my own words then if I'm not captaining Son against Newcastle. For me, I think I'm going to go with the likes of a Salah this week. I don't know, something spooky about that record versus United. It speaks to me. So I'm unsure. I'm not locked, but I think it will be Salah.
Okay, nice. Neil, what's your take there on this one?
I think the Man United game.
Yeah, it was Salah.
I think it's going to be a bit tight. We haven't seen it's not going to be the same under Slot as what we saw under Klopp, right? It's not going to be this chaotic heavy metal football.
True.
It's a lot more controlled, and I think from defenders' assets, I think you're far better off because you're going to get a lot. I think Liverpool are going to get a lot of clean sheets. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I think Man United away. I think under Ten Hag, he's going to be pretty pragmatic, isn't he? That's just how the way he is. So yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. I don't think we're going to see any kind of hat tricks or anything like that from Salah this time. So yeah, are you thinking of who are you captaining, Chai? Are you captaining Son?
No, I think Salah. It will be Salah.
Really?
Yeah, I think I'm 90% on Salah. Only because my other options aren't the greatest. I have captain Son at St. James's Park on paper isn't the best. I think the more you read into it, the better it looks. But I think just United away.
They don't have left back, do they? United. They've still got Dalot playing there, don't they?
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I think it's so difficult with Slot because I think I'm with Neil, where I just feel like it's going to be more control, more possession, and maybe a little bit cagier, and maybe that builds into a tighter affair. And I don't know, Man United have improved defensively. I know they're not great, but with the De Ligt signing, the Mazraoui signing, they are better at the back. And Casemiro's playing all right alongside Mainu as well, which helps their back line. I wonder if it's a tighter affair. But if you haven't got Haaland, of course, Salah's the second best player in the game, and therefore any given week you can captain him. And Chai, you also don't have Saka, which many non-Haaland drafts do. Because you went Son, you don't have Saka, same as me.
Ah, right, okay.
So many might go Saka this week because it's home to Brighton. I think that might be where the non-Haalanders mainly go towards Saka.
I think the best pick out of the bunch is Saka out of Palmer, Son, even maybe Haaland. I think that fixture for Arsenal at home against Brighton, I think it's a lovely fixture. But again, I don't have him, so I'm not left with much choice. And captaining the best FPL asset of all time isn't the worst way to go.
No, true. And the record is there. You're right. The record is there. I do feel like for those that are buying Palmer this week, I think go all in. If you buy him, captain him. But saying that, I would still rank Palmer as probably my second best captain. Let's rank them then, guys. Let's go through those 5 players, the big hitters: Saka, Salah, Palmer, Haaland. So those 4. In order, mine would be Haaland 1, and that is who I'm going to captain. Palmer 2, Salah 3, Saka 4. I'm going Saka at 4. Chai, I'll come to you next.
Yeah, I think for me, it's probably Saka, Haaland, Salah, and who's the other one you said? Palmer.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Palmer 4.
Keep it like that. Palmer 4.
Yeah.
Palmer 4. Chai.
No, but it's easy. Neil, if you look at it, all right, Son scored a brace last week, all right? So that's 18 points in 2 game weeks. Palmer is 19 in the last 2, and Saka's 18. So I don't know.
Yeah, but you can't count. But we played City, right?
Yeah, well,
True.
you know, you can't say a can't count, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But I think there's like, it's gonna be minor things that split these players like away from each other. All we need is one penalty for one of them, and then that kicks them on for 3 bonus.
Yeah,
and
I
12
know.
pointers. So
True.
it's definitely minor things in FPL.
Anish is close to you with Saka at 1 as well. Neil, where would you order these guys? I mean, we didn't include Son either, so feel free to include Son. I would have Son at 5.
Number 1, I just think Haaland off the back of a hat trick, right? Like, we see him go on these runs where he, I don't know, West Ham as well. Like, they haven't been too impressive so far. Yeah, so I'll go with Haaland 1. I've got to go my boy Palmer 2. Yeah. I'll go then Saka. I'll go Son and then Salah, actually.
Ooh, nice.
I think it'll be a really tight game. I mean, everyone might be absolutely flaming me on social media, if it ends up 4-3 or something. But I just think it would be that way. And with Newcastle, because at St. James's Park, they've got to have a go, and Spurs will play their way. So I think that Son could definitely pick up a couple of goals there too.
I'm shocked by the amount of Saka at 1. Downtown as Saka.
I think Saka's the third best asset in the game, lads. I really do think he is the third best.
But why don't you own him? I don't either. Why don't we own him, Chai? Why don't we own him?
I do. I own him.
I will own him, don't worry.
True. To be fair, game week 6, I'm going. Yeah, we'll all be having a few Arsenal players in after their 2.
I mean,
games.
He did struggle a lot, though, Saka, didn't he, for quite a period? And then Arsenal got a whole flurry of pens, didn't they?
Yeah, and he was definitely injured at the end of last season. Yeah. He does look fit now. He does look fit finally.
He's looking good. Although he was doing his typical limp off, wasn't he, against Villa?
Yeah. Disgusting says Cole Palmer, cold Palmer. I love that. I even think Saka could outscore Jota in 4 and 5. Maybe. Look, Saka is doing very well, clearly. I still rank him 4th out of those 5 in terms of points. Neil with the best top 4. There you go.
Yes.
There we go. Guys, I've got to let you go. I said an hour. I've just looked at the clock. Got an hour and 7 minutes. So, guys, we've loved having you lot in the chat tonight, and I would love to encourage you to go follow Chai on YouTube, but also go follow Neil on Twitter, because most of Neil's tweets are fantasy football related.
I know, it feels like it's an FPL account. All the activity feed, it's all FPL stuff. No snooker or anything like that.
Well, here you are with all your snooker trophies behind you as well. This is former world snooker champion Neil Robertson. Yes to those that are like, is that the snooker player? Yes, it is. He's also one of us, an FPL fan. But guys, we would love you to subscribe to this channel as well. So just double check you've hit that subscribe button and with the notification bell, and hit that like button as well on your way out. But I guess final thoughts. Yeah, we do get a lot of Chelsea from Neil. I guess final thoughts after this discussion. What's our kind of take on wildcards for both of you? So for Neil, for you who was closer to wildcarding, it wasn't something on Chai's radar. Is it something you think you'll go with, or are you just going to wait for that transfer window, see what happens Friday, and then make a decision?
I think the sensible thing is to wait for the transfer window, but also the Chelsea game on Thursday, because injuries could happen to the side. So I'll wait and see. But I mean, the more I look at that team, like, I really like it a lot. I do like the team. But yeah, I do think the sensible thing is to definitely wait for Friday to wait for the transfers, like Feist, for example, and some of the others. So I'm definitely going to wait for Friday. And then make my choice then. But no, look, I really like the wildcard team that I have selected for sure. So we'll wait and see.
Chai, your wildcard plans, you're always pretty fluid in terms, a bit like Neil, reacting to the game week to go, yes, it's this week or not. You're not booking anything in, are you?
Nah, no chance. I think I'll try to leave it as late as possible for the first maybe 10 game weeks. Maybe ideally, I want to say 8th, but it probably will realistically be 6.
Okay, yeah. Paulie's with a great question. Neil finishing number 1 in the world and winning FPL, or winning another Snooker World Championship? We have to ask you this one, Neil. You've won a World Snooker World Championship. You've never won FPL. So would you finish... What would it
be? Number 1 in the world rankings and winning FPL.
Yes.
So here's the thing. If I finish number 1, most likely I would have won the World Championship to project me there. So I guess finishing number 1 and winning FPL, that would be pretty cool because I can't think of too many sportsmen who would have done that before. So,
mate, none. In terms of like sportsmen that play FPL, we know in Premier League footballers do it. But you, Andy Murray, if I look in the world of celebrity, we have Stormzy and KSI playing. It is becoming more and more mainstream. Do some of the other players play? Do you ever talk FPL with some of the other lads?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Quite a few snooker players do it. We often talk about our frustration with being on a flight or something, and maybe we don't have Wi-Fi on the plane, and we can't make any changes before a deadline, or this or that, and so it's something that we keep busy and sort of talk about amongst ourselves at breakfast and going out to dinner and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really cool. It's amazing how it finds its way around, and certain people that you just never even knew played FPL, can be absolute addicts with it. Like Andy Murray, for example, when we both had that exchange when we were so frustrated with the app how it kept crashing. Was it last year or something? 15 minutes before. So.
Yeah, that was funny that. And I think the Premier League have sorted themselves out. I'm back on the Premier League on Friday, by the way, guys, if you fancy tuning in. And I won't be doing a deadline stream on Saturday because I'm on Sky, but Dylan at FPL Chai is doing a deadline stream on YouTube, so go check him out. 147 in Saudi, I love that, or a 147 in Gameweek 3. Brilliant question by Tribron. So I won't ask you to answer that one, but we've loved having you both on. Sorry to overrun as well. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Loads of new faces in the chat, which is awesome. So thank you for joining this YouTube channel and hitting those buttons, guys. We'll see you for another video tomorrow. I've got my team selection video out and more lives later in the week as well. But Dylan, FPL Chai, Neil Robertson, thank you both for joining. And yeah, I look forward to having you on again for another chat. I enjoy our Wednesday chats every now and then, so appreciate you guys.
Yeah, cool. No worries.
Right, we're going to say our goodbyes. Thank you for watching, everyone. For now, he's been Dylan, he's been Neil, I've been Gianni, and we've all been FPL nerds. See you later. Bye-bye.